Who's Fancy Pants?
This whole thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, come on. You've got more gear than me.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Welcome to Northern Echoes, and we are in a really, really exciting space, and it's so quaint and niche. We're in the Blue Mountains on southern Georgian Bay, not too far from a resort that Jozo Wider built at Blue Mountain Resort, and we're in a very, very unique studio that has quiet, quaint, intimate musical performances for the music lover. We're at Studio 79, and I'm here with Anna Potvin, and Anna has a unique way of presenting music to her friends. And I stumbled into this place just through Facebook, and it was like what's this? And I actually reached out to Anna, and I said, where have I been?
Yeah, that was funny.
That was my intro. Where have I been?
I knew you were a passionate music lover when I saw that.
Yeah, Anna. So this is Anna Potvin, and she's had some incredible artists come out here, and it's just such a unique place and such a special place. And we're going to get into her experiences with all the musical guests they've had here. So the way I stumbled onto this was I noticed the Skydiggers were coming to Collingwood, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Thinking it's a big venue.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was a big venue. I thought it was kind of like a Meaford Hall kind of environment. And
well, that's big for up here.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be quaint. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be a couple hundred people, and little did I know that it was, at your own studio that seats about 40 people. Yeah. So let's go way back and figure out, go way back 2 years, because I understand this has only been going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the name Studio 79?
Well, Studio 79 was a very spontaneous name, and I really only chose it to name my Wi-Fi because my partner had moved out, and so I got new Wi-Fi, and I thought, okay, I need to name this. And I grew up here. This was my ski chalet growing up. So, and then the fire department changed the numbers, and we all have numbers at the end of our driveway. So 79's no longer, but I still had the brass numbers that were always, a soft spot for me. So I just thought Studio 79. So I named the Wi-Fi Studio 79. And then I never actually thought I was going to put a name on these shows or the venue. I wasn't thinking of it as a venue back then. So
that gives all a whole new slant on what's your Wi-Fi password, right?
Right.
That's perfect, right?
Yeah.
So is the Wi-Fi password Studio 79?
No, it's not.
It's a good thing to know. And so how did you just say, you know what, and so the studio was built.
Yes.
And it was a working studio for a musician?
4 layers in the walls, sound paneling, as you can see on the ceiling and the walls and the windows. Oh, the sound's amazing. And, there's a stage. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to continue. I didn't know what I was going to do with the space even. But then there was a lot of talk. Steve Vipon, who used to run the Crow, which was really big in town for live music and had house concerts, he left with his wife. They moved out west. And I was at the last concert with Tom Wilson at his house. And, there's all the chatter. Who's going to keep this up? Who's going to, keep this going for the community?
The community.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought, well, I am a live music lover, and I have a music studio in my house. So I threw out the drawings to make it a spare bedroom. And it was an easy decision, very easy decision.
So how long between that time where their little gatherings were,
that
ending?
was December.
Yeah. And your first gig here was?
March. And it only took that long because we were in lockdown. So as soon as lockdown ended, I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's find an artist.
So were those concerts at that other, not concerts, but gatherings at that other place, were they as a result of the COVID lockdowns and, still wanting to?
I think he would have an artist at his bar restaurant, the Crow, and then they would often play his house, like a house concert Thursday night, and then they would play the Crow Friday night.
So you wanted to be friends with him for sure if you're in town, right?
Yeah, everybody loves Steve and
Yeah.
John.
Well,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, and there's, it was just in their living room, and you were in their bit of an open concept, so kitchen, living room, sofa, floor, typical standard, house concert.
So the last concert that they had was
Tom
Wilson.
Yep.
And you have a piece of art here from
Yeah.
Tom Wilson. And it's one of the first things when I walked into the studio that I kind of drew my eye. Is like,
yeah,
that's got to be a Tom Wilson kind of art. And we'll get into some of the artists that played here. But was Chantal Craviotz the first?
She was the first.
How did you get Chantal Craviotz to be your first opening?
Well, when I made the decision, okay, let's do this, let's get it started, I just sort of thought, okay, who's playing at Meaford Hall? And went on to their email newsletter and saw Chantal was playing. So I sent her an Instagram message. And I felt like I had a little in because I thought she would know my last name because my brother used to rep clothing and I was in his showroom. This is 30 years ago. I was in his showroom trying on some samples and she came in to try on some samples as well. Like he knew she was coming in. But we were in our 20s. So, and I remember being a little like, oh, I pretended I didn't say anything to her. We laughed and giggled and tried on clothes and that was that. She wouldn't remember me, but I knew she would remember my brother's name. So.
And did she? And she did?
Yeah. She sent me a message back within a day.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's when you got bitten. That's when the hornet stung you.
Yeah. And
right?
then the next show was Liz Scott had directed some artists my way that she wasn't hosting anymore up at her place. Liz used to be the art director of Mariposa. So very well connected. And that was Susie Ungerleider, Caroline Brooks, and Dean Drouillard. They came as a trio.
Was that your second?
That was my second show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so your first show was in March.
Yeah.
It was cold outside, and you had
30.
30?
Just 30. We did 30 for
30
Chantal.
people for
Yeah.
Chantal Craviotz.
Yeah. And that was more of a, post-lockdown, like post-pandemic studio launch, like Studio 79 launch, where she played a few songs. It wasn't...
a full-on set.
Yeah. But everybody was just
moved
beyond.
I saw the Instagram video and just having her over there at that piano.
Oh, it was, yeah. I actually had tears.
In this environment is like, that would move right through me.
Yeah.
Right.
I was sitting right there videoing her and I actually had tears running down my cheeks at one point. I was like, I cannot believe.
Her songwriting is incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And those all of her songs are like just from her soul. Well, and there's so much into it.
I think the song that really helped make her or break her into the charts was Surrounded. And it's about someone very close to her who committed suicide. So she tells the story and, and then I look around and you see that person crying, and then there's still, and I had so many people that night leave and say, wow, that was the best therapy, yeah.
Music is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, music's been my medicine for decades. And to have this environment to experience it, and Chantal's a storyteller, mm-hmm. right? Most of the musicians and most of the songwriters are storytellers. That's where it starts, right? Is they're telling that story. And to hear her, I don't know if you've ever seen Chantal and Rain when they tour together.
No, I haven't.
In between songs, they tell the full story of where the song came from, what it means, and they really connect, one-on-one with the listener. And as well as being music lovers and artists, you need the artist, you need the musician, you also need the listener, right? Because that completes the connection of the song and how it touches people, and to hear that everybody was crying and had a tear, music moves through you, man.
It does. It does. And there, as you understand, there's something really special about this environment and what it creates. And she invited me to her Meaford show the next night, Meaford Hall, and I went to that. I think I had second row, maybe. And I kind of walked away feeling like it didn't touch the show.
Right, but it's still a good show.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right? So it's
But just the feeling
this is
of-
just this is the inside level. Right?
Well, it's just intimate.
Yeah. So it's an inside level of being so close to the artist and so close to the song and so close to the music that the attendees or your friends that are gathered here, your music lovers that are gathered here, it's a surreal moment of it can't be repeated.
No.
Right? And one of the things with being an artist and a performer is they're like, that's just fuel for their spirit and their soul.
Yeah,
when they're
absolutely.
playing for audiences like this anywhere.
Well-
It could be 20,000.
And to hear them thank me for that, and people like Barney Bentel who've been all over the world, right? And he's standing here and he's just like, wow, I really like this. And before, as he's leaving, he sort of poked his head in here and took a 10th look, and said, wow, I love the lighting. He's just like, this is so great. So great.
So was he in during your first season of this?
No, he was here last November. Barney?
So he finished last season almost.
So yes, yeah.
Yeah. And that I'm sure that that happens with most of the artists that come here, right? They look at it and go, okay, this is going to be a unique venue to play. We don't play these that very often. And your discussions with them before they come, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And Paul Reddick was here, and he thanked me before coming, saying, thank you for giving us the opportunity to stay on our toes and to be our best. And I really liked that. I thought, wow. As I go along and the artists and the audience say these things to me, I sort of realize what's been created and what's happening. And the impact it's having, not just on the audience, but the artist as well.
Yeah. It's again, it's surreal, right?
Yeah.
Are you keeping a journal for that kind of notation?
Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
I do keep little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it'd be interesting, to chronicleize your experience after the event, where you can highlight those things just to remind yourself, just kind of like a pinch me again. I want to go back. You know what I mean? Before you go to sleep at night, you want to go to that happy place where you're always wanting to go, get your mind off the world, right? And it's like, maybe I'll just read that, and hold that close to yourself, right? So Tom played here, Tom Wilson.
Yes.
I know that his book, his rediscovery of his roots, his revitalization.
Yeah.
Tom's gone through like many revitalizations, right?
He has.
Many.
I noticed on his Instagram bio, it says modern Mohawk artist, author, musician. Modern Mohawk.
Yeah, and you know what? He's I've heard him read from his book.
He did that here.
Wow,
It's powerful.
Very like Tom's like a very imposing, like not imposing physically.
He has a presence.
Yes, he has a big presence, big tall guy, and
Yeah. Lovable.
yeah.
That's Tom in the bathtub too, right?
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Up there?
I call it Tom in the tub.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It was donated to the studio.
Oh, very cool. And if you look on the studio walls, like, Steamboat right there, is that Steamboat from Colorado?
Yeah.
Steamboat, Colorado. Yeah.
I went there in my childhood with my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they had, Steamboat had ties to Blue Mountain here, to the resort here, and that whole Interwest thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's where I
I
picked up
kind
my eye.
of try to keep a bit of a, we are here at the bottom of a ski hill. And then obviously from the music, like the art up there is from, Chantal painted that.
She actually painted that?
That's actually from the song I spoke of.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the lyrics.
But she painted that for you?
No, she painted it and she sells them. Yeah, she's got a few different. So I bought it. from her.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the artists do that after their shows? Maybe if they have some
Yeah, they
things
usually, I don't, maybe one artist who just didn't have merch, but in general, they sell merch so you can meet and talk to the artist and have them sign something if you desire. And yeah, it's nice.
it's a good touch point for them too. And for the artists, these places are important to be able to continue to reach out to their audiences.
Sorry.
Keep going.
No, and nobody, takes advantage of that. There's never a night where I'm having to say, okay, Rob, like it's this people, the show's over, a little bit of merch, and they carry on. And
You can stay, but you can't stay for too long.
but it's never ever come, it's always been very natural and
Well, I think your audience is probably, they're people that
Respect.
you know, and
Yeah.
they're a little different demographic, and they've come here to really, really enjoy the music, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a communal thing where they like the artist, they just like the sound of the music that's coming through them, right? And it has that opportunity to kind of, it's if you want to say it's a spiritual thing for them, that they can come here and listen to that kind of music and congregate amongst like-minded, and that's what music lovers are, right? And
And I say to a lot of people that I can see them humming and hawing, or, oh, well, I'm not sure if my friend's going to be able to make it. Like, just come solo. Lots of people come solo. You never feel solo because it's just such an intimate space.
I do a lot of solo concerting
Yeah.
now because I've actually concerted out my wife and my son. And
I know.
they're like, no, I didn't, I'm like, who's going to, why don't I just
Just
go by
yourself.
myself?
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't matter the size of the audience or the venue or anything like that. It's like, I'm going to be there with people that like the
Yeah.
music. Number one, that's a base point and it's a starting point. Music lovers are music lovers anywhere you go. If you're going to see a band or anything that
You
appreciate,
connect.
you connect
Yeah,
immediately, right? And
Absolutely.
it's just like it's communal. It's like almost going to a church, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool like that. You can just go to a concert. I've got lots of friends that are what I call part of my nomadic concert goers, and they'll travel long distances to go see a band and make friends there. And I went down to U2, and I met people that knew each other from around the world that had traveled to this concert down in Las Vegas, and they meet up with everybody every 3 years when the band does a
Right.
tour, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's, somebody from Brazil will
that's
meet
fun.
somebody from Ireland, and it's like they're old friends, right? So you're creating that kind of community here. So Tom, did he read from his book here?
Yep. He sang. He brought Jesse O'Brien on the piano. And
Very
he had
cool.
his keys set up as well. I think he did that. Or maybe no, that's Jesse's been here a couple of times. So
Tom's got his play going on now,
Yeah,
which
I've
I
seen
want to
that.
see really, really bad.
It's
So
supposed to be amazing.
Tom's come full circle in. I'm going to say Tom's been around a few circles in the music, in his music
Yeah,
journey.
you need to read his book too. Did
Yeah.
you read the book?
I've read portions of
Right.
the book,
Yeah.
and it's
He puts it out there.
yeah, and discovering his roots like that. And when he did discover it and I found out about it, I actually went, kind of queued up some Junk House again.
Yeah.
And I went, well, duh, right? I could tell,
Yeah.
right? Like that music, and you re-listen to his music with a different viewpoint, and it's like, wow, it makes sense that, it's a blood thing, and it flows through the spirit
Yeah.
and just who Tom is. So that must have been, Tom could stand here on the stage without a microphone
Oh yeah, and project.
and hit the mountain,
Yeah.
right? So that must have, how was the audience with that?
Oh, I mean, they loved him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, he reads excerpts from his book, and I have a great photo of him reading. It's very,
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very pretty.
Yeah. It
The
just,
lighting on him, and he's holding his arm up.
yeah.
And everybody listens when Tom speaks.
It's, and it's, he's had a great journey, it's been, sometimes has been a struggle, and it's not like anybody else in life. You know what I mean? You go through different facets of your life, and you struggle through some things, and you regenerate. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So he's got a lot of words of wisdom, and nothing but respect for Mr. Tom Wilson, and Gordy. And now Gordy Johnson's been here too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He was unbelievable.
Yeah. So all this blues, country, and indie
Yeah.
is like just
It's fun.
so. What was Gordy like?
Yeah, Gordy he was pretty amazing, and I was pretty impressed with, how warm, and I hadn't met him before, and they were just adorable. He and his wife Alex came, and they brought a sound technician. So he's the only one that's brought a sound person, and the sound was unbelievable. and he sat on a chair. He loved my gong. He's a big gong fan. So I thought that was fun that he brought my childhood gong, because that gong's been in the chalet for, as long as we have. And so he brought the gong into his show, and it's pretty amazing for me as the host to sit. And it's one thing I really love is when heads just slowly turn to me and like jaws drop. It's usually within the first song.
Yeah.
Unless they're starting
For
slow
sure.
and kicking into it. And people are just like, holy shit, or what?
You could say that word here.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Well,
They're just like, it's just like, what is this even? Like, what? You feel like you're just a part of something so special.
Yeah. And, you have to be here to actually feel it, right? We talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But you actually have to be in an intimate environment with these
To really understand.
it, right?
Yeah. And Gordy, at the start too, I noticed I try to remind myself to hop on Instagram and Facebook in case an audience member is coming that needs me, right? That needs directions or something. So I saw quickly that he had posted on Instagram a little video that he did here of himself saying, "Hey, I'm at Anna's place, come on." And I just thought, wow, that's really cool.
Come find me,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it was sold out.
Yeah. But
he
I
did
left the popcorn trail, right?
Yeah. And he did.
Because this is what's going to happen, right?
Oh, what?
That people are going to, reach out and try and find out where this place is, right? So I've identified it just somewhere at the base of Blue Mountain,
Yeah.
right?
And that's why I looked at you when I said my address, so you can cut that out. When we were talking about 79.
Yeah. So, people are going to, where is, this is really unique. And there is a little bit of this environment happening in the music industry today, and it's probably as a result of COVID, where people are doing, you can get an artist to come to your house and play for a birthday or something like that. You know what I mean? Or a gathering. And so this is starting to happen a little bit more.
Well, there's a website, right? Is it called Side Door? Something where you can actually sign up, because people were sort of directing me that way when I started.
Oh, sign up to find the artist, or
sign up to be a spot.
to be a host?
Yes. I don't know if I have the name right.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. I did. Yeah. So that was probably happening during COVID. And a lot of the artists were doing, Zoom calls, right? I know Steve Page was doing Saturday nights from his studio, and he'd do requests and everything like that. So this is kind of like in a new environment, and it's great for the musicians because they have somewhere to play. Like I said, connect with their audiences again, and keep being working musicians. And in this industry in Canada, it's important to be performing as a musician, simply because of the, one of it is the economics of it today. People are just doing the streaming, and streaming is not going to be enough to sustain a career anymore. And to be able to continue writing and performing. And they do it because of a love of performing, right? And I think that's one of the special uniquenesses of this environment is you probably touch that with them again, where they feel like I am performing one-on-one with somebody, and this is how I made my music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to ask an artist that. Do you get a chance to ask them any questions, or?
Yeah, we talk, throughout. They come and they set up, and then afterwards I always make them my pizza, and it just depends.
You make pizza?
I make pizza.
Didn't know?
I actually thought about making you guys pizzas.
A pizza aficionado. Frank,
is he?
Frank is the producer and co-producer of Northern Echoes, and he is like a huge
So I
pizza.
cold ferment the dough for 3 hours, so it's not something that I can just be like, oh, yeah, you know what, I should.
I can't whip one up for you.
Planned.
I can't whip one up for you, right? But I understand.
I do 24-hour fermentation.
Do you? Yeah, I do 2 to 3 days. Some people feel that. Do you feel that 24 is enough?
More than enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of pizzas coming my way because Frank's already promised me a pizza a few times already on this journey, right? And yourself, and I understand that you make even before I got here, I knew that vegetarian cheesesteak,
vegan, the vegan cheesecakes.
Yeah,
I serve
is a
those
thing
as well
here,
often.
right?
Yeah.
So you make them too as well?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And
It's my kitchen certified here.
oh,
so,
very cool.
Yeah, I sell them in stores.
Oh, really?
Yep. I do.
Who knew?
They'll be at the Sky Diggers show, so you can sample.
Awesome. I'm really looking
You can
forward to
sample
Sky.
today too, actually.
Yeah. Well, I knew I'm not.
Of
I
course.
wasn't walking out the door
Yeah.
without one. Devin Cuddy's been here,
Yeah, that was amazing.
right?
Yeah.
And
He is a real talent.
he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is his brother Sam Pauly.
Sam Pauly was
Oh,
here
yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
Devin was here on a very, very, very hot day. I was actually just messaging with him yesterday, joking because he's coming back. I haven't announced it yet.
Well, this isn't going to be, and we're not going to put this out for a little bit, so you can announce it
That's
here.
it. He's coming back with Barney Bentel.
Oh, when?
Yeah, August.
August.
Yeah. So when Devin was here, he had his piano. Where did he have his piano? Right here, this way. And it was so hot, the AC unit started basically pee on him.
Dripping.
Yeah. It was more like it was peeing.
Squirrel pee.
He said he was going to put his head in it, but then he thought, oh, no, maybe that's nasty water.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. Anyway, they were fantastic.
And do the neighbors ever, I know when I throw a gathering or something like that, the first thing I do is invite my neighbors.
Right. Yeah. They all have open invites, but I don't think we really have some live music lovers. They've never really come, but they're in full support of the studio. It's one reason I do the shows early too.
Yeah.
So it's early show. It's good for the artists. The artists get to drive home or drive to their next destination in good time. Keeps the neighbors happy. Keeps the focus away from booze. I find, later in the night, people show up drunk, and this is essentially 100% focus, engaged with the performance.
Yeah, I'm like-minded myself. I've went to too many shows in my youth that I didn't remember going to.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and people are allowed to bring drinks or, yeah,
it's a 90-minute set.
And it's one reason I don't do an intermission as well, because that's just more time for drinking later, longer, lingering, and maybe ticking off my neighbors. So it's just kind of a get it done, short and sweet.
I wish I was your neighbor because I'll be walking down the street anywhere, and if I hear live music, instantly I can tell it's live.
Right.
Versus a playback.
Okay.
Even when I'm downtown or in another city or anything like that, if there is a street musician, I will always stop.
Right.
And listen and put a penny more in the case, the guitar case, right?
Right.
And it won't be a penny because we don't carry pennies anymore. So
that's my favorite Sky Diggers song, A Penny More.
If you're doing or you put a bucket out there, you can put a penny more around the bucket.
Right. Yeah, we could. Right, there's our bucket right there.
Oh, you have a bucket for the artists?
Yeah, feed the bucket.
Oh, very cool.
Steve Vipon brought that to an early show, and my daughter wrote the little sign on it, and it's what stayed. Every show I put it out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right. Gas money.
100%,
that's important.
100% goes to the artist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important, I'm so grateful for them to come out and spend some time with you and your gatherings. And it must be, do you ever get to a point where kind of pinch me? How did this happen? And
yeah, I'm a trust your journey, and also the whole day by day mentality, just sort of, which was accentuated during COVID. I found I really found, mental health wise, I was fine because I was just day by day. I just get through the day, and there's another day.
Let's see what today brings.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it's exciting. It really is.
And you've always had music.
I've always been
around you.
Yeah.
Exposed to it.
I was talking to my brother a few weeks ago. I was like, "What was my first concert? Was it Rolling Stones or AC/DC?" We couldn't remember which one, and we had some connections growing up. So we had front row center. So a second row center for Rolling Stones, and 10th row for AC/DC. What would have been Toronto? Would it be the Rogers? No, the Sky Dome, I guess. Was it?
Yeah, I think. Okay,
was
was it Steel Wheels tour?
I don't know. I was young.
Was it the Steel Wheels tour or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And the AC/DC one was the Money Talks, because I remember the money falling from the sky.
Yeah.
and my hearing. I always say that's what my tinnitus is from that concert.
Yeah.
The cannons.
Yes, for those about to rock.
Yeah.
We salute you. Look out.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I still have my hearing at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to go back to thinking about that, kind of self-imposed curfew put on here, it kind of gives people a chance to go home and kind of like process it.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
I always say that it's sort of, there's a half-hour window or so, and then the texts start flooding in on my cell phone, like, oh my God. And everyone's giving me their reviews and thanking me for bringing joy into their life. And that's huge.
And
right? Yeah. And that's another thing I sit and I process. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the stuff like that. If it was me, I'd be like writing that down in my journal and going,
I know.
This is like,
right.
This it's purposeful. And
I find sometimes people will go, carry on to the village or wherever and have dinner together or, so it works. And back to my neighbors too, there's not a lot of full-time people on the street. So like they're not full-time. The two across the street are not full-time.
And I think the age demographic has a lot to do with it too, because it's, similar to, our ages and in my lifetime now, nothing good happens or legal happens after 9 o'clock.
Right.
And I got this far without ending up in jail in my life. I'm not about to do it now.
Like Colin Linden was just like, he could not believe.
Colin Linden. Wow.
He could not believe that it was a 5:30 show. He was so happy. And I joke every time he comes back that he's just...
So he's been here twice.
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, his shows are... Yeah, you know what? And every time, I still feel blown away by his performance.
Wow.
Yeah, he's amazing. I think there needs to be a documentary about him. When you look into... dive deep into his bio, yeah.
Well, he's done a lot of world-renowned and worked with a lot of world-renowned musicians. And
oh, gosh, yeah.
Like...
I think he's produced just under 200 albums for other people.
Yeah.
He's collaborated on around 500.
We have a lot of great Canadian talent in our country.
Mm-hmm. We really do.
That have gone on and, throughout the world and produced, some great artists around the world. And I'd like to think that makes us kind of special.
I think it's special. I always tag Canadian music on every post.
Yeah, and the Canadian musical journey has been incredible for, when you think about the demographics and the size of America versus the size of Canada and how our it's a bigger struggle up here to make a career out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Than it is elsewhere in the world. Yeah. But we get endeared to our Canadian artists and their Canadian storytelling. And if they make it beyond our borders, we're like, yes.
I know, right? Like I've always been a huge Blue Road
more love for Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who, if you were going to, you go to bed at night, put your head down on your pillow and go, who I'd really like to have there that I have never had here? Who if I could give you a wish list.
I know. Well, there's so many artists that sometimes I even think, I'll ask anybody, right? There's no artist that's too big in my mind. They just have to want to do it because I've seen it. It's a special experience for the artist as well. So like I mentioned, I saw Daniel Lanois last summer at Meaford Hall and I just went up to him after, saying, hey, I've got this little studio. Would you be interested? And it's just something, if they say no, they say no. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why they need to do it because obviously, money-wise.
Right. You're not going to get, it's a love of it. It's the uniqueness of it, right? Mm-hmm. And Danielle's touring with a smaller outfit these days and, he's well-renowned, known in Canada, but, he still keeps it kind of low-key and an incredible guitar player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just incredible. Just like, oh.
He's another one that's worked with next to everybody.
Yeah. Hopefully Daniel's going to listen to it and come. I'm a believer of serendipity, right? Mm-hmm. So the circle in your life, and things that happen in your life, for a reason, right? So, I try not to get hung up on what doesn't happen, because one day it may happen, right? And you kind of got to open yourself up to, like you said, live day by day, and maybe it'll happen one day, right? And not going, oh, but
Right. Yeah.
it could happen. Anybody else? Like,
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't, there's not, I mean, there's artists that I've reached out to that I at Mariposa, I'll go up to artists after, same thing, and just sort of say it, hey, would you be interested? And there's the brothers Landreth. They're not very well. They're established, but they're not as well known as some artists that have been out for decades. But they, like, even an artist like that, it's not that it's the name I'm after. I just thought they were unbelievable in their sound and their energy. They're harmonizing. So I've reached out to that agent, 2 or 3 times. So there's an example of someone I'd love to come here, and it's just not so easy for them. They both have young families, but I don't give up on that. Like I'm not one to. I'm a pretty determined person, too. So if there is like a little crack of hope, then I'll like, yeah, and I sort of, I'm a believer in making things happen. Just make it happen.
Yeah, there's ways to do it, right? And if there isn't one door that opens, there's multiple other doors that could probably lead you to the same destination of who you want to have come in here. Like and just thinking about it, sitting here, like listening to Chantal Kraviatz in here would be like, wow.
Right? Yeah. Oh, and the sound was amazing.
Yeah, and it's just,
we have that L1 Bose, and we brought in a second one.
Yeah, and I'd be kind of like maybe on the street going, wow, is this really happening?
I know. I don't know if people walking by might have thought we were playing an album.
Yeah, see, but I wouldn't pick up on that right away.
You would.
I would say,
Yeah.
you know what, that's live.
That's Chantal.
When I hear...
She sounded so unbelievable.
I saw it on Instagram.
She was really beautiful.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram this morning. I took a look at it.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, she sounds great. She sounds like just when it was recorded.
She was funny, too. That was, talk about... keeping in just keep it cool. It's going to work out. Everything's going to be good. I think she phoned me the day before, and she's like, hi. And she's like, I'm at a photo shoot. She's like, they want me to go to Ottawa tomorrow because the Ukrainian president's speaking, and which was very important to her. And so all of a sudden, and I'd sold all the tickets, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay.
Where's this going?
Yeah, and she's like, what time is it starting? I think it was starting around 5. Okay, well, and then she's like, first of all, she's like, okay, I'll call you back. And then I'm thinking like, oh my God, okay. And then she calls back and she's just like, okay, I've got to go. But she's like, I will fly. No. I think she was saying she was flying there and then she was going to drive back. And I was like, oh, there's so much room for error. In my head, this is what I'm thinking.
Sure.
And I'm like, Chantal, people are, this ticket price is there because you're going to be here. There's no other reason for this high ticket price for, and she's like, no, it's okay. I'll fly to Toronto and then I'll hop in a car and drive up. So that was the plan. And I tell my brother who's coming here and he's just like, her flight is arriving at that time or leaving. Like it was all, I'm like, no, it's leaving. He's just like, oh no. And then all is going okay. I think she messaged me that she got on the flight. I get a call. This is March 2020. There was a snowstorm. She's like, hi. They're not letting us off the plane. Like, it was just, so it was so like, okay. She got here. If it started at 5:30, she got here at 10 after 6,
Oh, wow.
and which was fine because it gave people time to arrive and mingle. And then boom, she came in her car dressed nicely. It all worked out. See, and that's just, you got to just
trust in the process.
So I thought she and I worked really well. We both had the same mentality. Like we were both sort of like, okay, let's do it.
So that would lead me to ask, have you ever had an artist that didn't make it for whatever reasons?
No.
Because it can happen, right? So...
Yeah, no.
Imagine the stress she must have been going through, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that first call was a kind of like a feeler, right? Let's just
It was crazy.
kind of
She's
bounce
"Are
it
you
off her.
kidding me?" Because you can sit in those planes for hours.
You can,
They
right?
didn't keep them very long.
But you never know, right? And she would be cognizant of that.
Oh yeah.
You know, as a touring musician, you've got to leave yourself on a runway
Of time.
for something to happen,
Yeah, we had no runway.
right? So when that special appearance for the Ukrainian dignitary came up, she's like, I think, let me bounce this off Anna and see what her initial reaction is, and then let me call you back. No, we're
That
gonna have
show
to-
also, I don't think would have happened if it hadn't been the times that it was, like the post-COVID. You know,
Yeah.
they were itching to be performing.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
that whole time, right?
So
Like
yeah, I know.
virtual, you know, virtual was just a stopgap.
Well, they were the. Sorry.
Virtual was just a stopgap to get us through that period, right?
And
by-
they were the first to stop and the last to get started again, musicians.
Yeah,
So it was a really tough time.
yeah, and they were having to rely on, you know, virtual for being part of, you know, their tour replacement in a financial sense, right? So, and as well to keep connected to their fans and doing stuff like Tiny Desk and, you know what I mean, stuff like that. But it, you know, I produced a ton of virtual events during COVID, and it was like, if I don't do another virtual event ever in my life again,
Right.
please, no.
Well, there's talk about filming these shows, and I spoke to an artist or two, and I mean, I do my videos, but one artist said that he felt it did change if the sort of the feel, the energy, if he knew the whole thing was being recorded.
Yeah, you want to capture a song, right? You know, it's another thing to capture the whole thing, right? And it's quite an intimate area. You can see our footprint here for our cameras. Our 3 cameras here
Yeah.
is minimal, but you know what I mean.
Well, and I'm only having 40 when the doors are open, obviously.
right, and you don't want to do you may one song, right? Typically, when I go to a show myself, I'll check out the set list either beforehand or I'll hit up the guy at the audio desk and say, okay, can I see your set list? And let me, I want to tape that one.
Oh,
That's the
interesting,
one
yeah.
I'm going to grab. And it's, you know, hopefully something, because at every show somewhere, something special happens during a show that is unique to that day.
Yeah.
And hopefully it happens on that one I'm capturing. Right?
Yeah.
And the rest of it is I have to find myself, I want to put my phone in my back pocket. And I just want to, be part of that holistic experience.
Yeah.
Right. And this would be absolutely the same. Like, I would, when I come to the Sky Diggers, I'm just going to be sitting out front in a chair with my feet up going,
Yeah. It's gonna be
kind of smudging myself with the music,
that, yeah.
right? Just kind of, this is,
I've got a feather over smudger over there if you need.
and I've got an abacorn shell, and I actually have some sage that I bring with me, right?
Nice.
And it's just, to let that descend upon you as it was meant to descend upon you. Right? Like you said, the music can be so spiritual and so healing, and it, pulled a lot of people through the COVID,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? You got to hold on to that kind of thought process when you're, when you've got music, right? I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Awesome Music Project.
Oh, sounds interesting.
And it's recollections from 110 different people, Canadians. Chris Hadfield, I think Chantel wrote a piece for it too. Sarah McLachlan, and what? Excuse me, Sarah McLachlan, and what music meant to them. Right. So there's the CEO of the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, which it's also business people, right? And she writes about
Heard of this?
yeah, she writes about the hip, right? And she starts it off and says, if you want to know anything about me, just ask me about want to know who I am. Think about the Tragically Hip, and she lists off 3 songs like Courage. That was her motivator, right, to achieve and keep having courage to keep going forward. And then there was the 100 Meridian, right? She came from that area, right? You know what I mean? So that identified to wherever she went in life, and she traveled extensively throughout North America and Europe on her travels and her learning journey. And whenever she heard 100 Meridian, it'd be like, that's home,
Right.
right? So music does define that with all these people. And in that book, it teaches you, that you're not alone, right? There's an average, just somebody that writes a passage on, I'm a music listener.
Right.
And music needs that.
Absolutely.
I have a purpose, and a big purpose in it. I don't write it. Chris Hadfield says that some of, everybody's a musician, but not everybody plays an instrument, right? And I thought that was a unique quote and of like, yeah, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. I was walking up the side, and I noticed you've got rain cymbals out there.
Oh, the symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you know what's funny about that? So my last guests the show was last week, Big Dave McLean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That was amazing. He was here on his album release tour, This Old Life, with Jimmy Boskill,
Jimmy.
Steve Mariner, and Adam Warner on drums.
Wow.
Oh, it was phenomenal. Oh, it was a lot to digest. And
that's a unique sound, momentary sound.
What I love about that show too is like these four artists together. I felt it was a little bit of an exclusive tour. We were fortunate to be one of 5 stops on this tour. I felt really grateful to have them here and just to experience all this talent together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
On one stage.
each of them are standalone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And the admiration for Dave.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie and the back and forth. And Steve handed him a tuner, to tune his guitar just sort of after when it started. And then,
I forgot
Dave
my
would
tuner.
laugh and they were all looking out for him. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there's musicians. Hey, who's got a tuner? Right?
So fun. Well, it's more like you need to tune that. And I think he said something like, yeah, I was wondering about that, but there's Steve looking out for him. The reason I brought up that show is because after Jimmy walks up to me and he said, the cymbal, and I had one off because the top bolt or whatever I needed to replace it. So it was leaning against the house. So Jimmy comes up to me. He's just like,
somebody forgot this.
No. Jim was just like, this cymbal, can I buy from you? So
Really?
So right away I realized that he's grabbed a cymbal from the garden. Yeah. And I said, oh, is that from my walkway? And he's like, yeah. And he just said, it's too good to be outside. And I said, really? Ooh. And what's the brand? Is it that brand?
Sabian, isn't it?
Yeah. Is there one that starts with a K?
Zildjian.
Or is it it must have been that brand then? I didn't know if. So he shows me the little logo.
Yeah.
And I said, oh. And then we sort of go back and forth. And I said, how are the other ones? And he said, well, there's one that's debatable. So we went out and looked at it. And we looked at the logo. We looked at the logo. And I said, well, let's look it up. So we looked it up. And it was a sister company, I think, of that brand.
A knockoff, probably a knockoff.
Well, no. He said, he's like, this. Yeah, he's like, yeah, this probably shouldn't be out here either. So he grabbed that one, and he's just like, how much? And I said, just take them. I said, I appreciate you. And he just,
so how did that start? Right. So
what
for those that, obviously we're going to show a picture of it.
Okay. The
right?
symbols.
Yeah. So out beside the studio, there's a sidewalk, walkway, and there's metal
poles.
And on top of the pole is a cymbal.
Yeah, to catch the rain.
Yeah, to catch the rain. So instead of it's a chime.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So there's 5 of them that run the length of the studio. There's 3 now. Thanks, Jim. No, I'm just kidding. He said that he has them working and running in the studio now.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, we had a message yesterday. I said, well, I'm happy to be a part, to play a role in your, merry music making. So, yeah.
So did you get them in the woodshed? No?
The symbols?
Yeah.
The 2, he took 2.
Right.
So, and the 3 are out. They're out there, but there's 2 blank poles. I don't know if I'm replacing or if I'm.
Oh, your studio.
Sorry, in his studio. Jim
his
Boskill
studio.
has a Jimmy
Yeah,
has a
not
studio.
the woodshed where Blue Rodeo studio. Or
No,
could-
yeah, no, not that one.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's got them and he's happy, and I'm happy for him. And you know what? You can tell I said, well, they've been out for for a year and a half. That one wasn't out last winter, so you can see the others aren't wearing as nicely. So I think the two he took were nice to.
So
put
where
in a
did you
studio.
learn to do that? Like, where did that idea
I
kind
think I just saw something online. I can't remember if it was exactly that.
Because that's that's my takeaway. Actually,
it?
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah,
right?
it's
at my
sweet.
place up here. Like it's so neat,
Yeah,
right? To hear the rain come down on the cymbal and
right.
give that noise, right, instead of a
think
chime.
I asked them too. I said, where do I find like bad cymbals to put outside now? And I think Adam, the drummer, was just like, oh, just go on like Facebook. They'll all be bad. So
Where do I find a cymbal that needs a home?
yeah, that needs some rain.
Yeah,
Anyway, so that was fun.
was really cool. I was loaded in, and I'm like looking at it and going, "Wow, neat." So I actually walked around.
Well, just a little hint too outside of what's behind this wall,
Well,
right? I like that.
It's also you've arrived at the place, the home of a music lover.
Right.
Would tell me, right?
Yeah.
You know, people could see, you know, if they didn't know me and they walked into my Christmas tree. You like music, don't you? Right? Because there's notes, cymbals, drums, horn instruments, and you know, instruments laying all over the place. Although I don't play, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's kind of like my homage to music. So when I walked up, when I saw that, I'm like, this is cool.
Right.
So if you're missing a couple of cymbals,
Yeah. Damn. Did you ever did you ever try to learn?
I unfortunately I didn't. There are numerous times that I've tried to sing, but
Yeah, that's an instrument in itself.
it is. It really is. And you know, again, Chantal Kravitz has a wonderful instrument.
Yeah.
I never had the time to dedicate myself to it, right? So, and speaking of that, my son is now. We got him a guitar for his birthday.
Nice.
I have two children, and none of them gravitated to music, and I probably, because I played music so much on long family drives, that there's no way they were going to go into music, and I was pleasantly surprised when my son said, "You know what? I'm thinking about. I would like to learn how to play guitar." Right.
Yeah.
So, in that his age of going through his teen years. This is where a lot of people discover music, right? And it's, you know, obviously going through your teen years is a different, you know, plateau in life. And gravitating towards music probably is a little bit of a, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say savior, but kind of a pathway of strength, right? And if you talk to a lot of today's musicians, they'll say the same thing. You know, my teenage years, I picked up this music thing going on, and you know, and it blossomed, and it became, you know, who they are, and so it's pretty cool. So I'm somebody has to listen to music. That's me.
That's you.
That's me. Somebody has to sing along in the audience, and somebody has to dance, right? So that's me.
Right.
And I totally enjoy it. Right.
I do
Thoroughly enjoy it.
I love it.
You play anything?
Piano. I grew up playing, and I've just started singing, but just for fun with my vocal coach over Zoom.
Oh, very cool.
So
Yeah.
he's the old lead singer of I Mother Earth, and he does singing lessons on Zoom.
Edwin.
Brian Byrne.
Oh,
So we have fun. Even just to sing in front of him was a big step for me.
yeah.
But I'm I love watching people sing and how they sing, and you know, I go into everything. Like I've been looking at diagrams of the diaphragm, and how it all works. That interests me.
Yeah, it's a science too,
Yeah.
right? It totally is an instrument,
Absolutely.
right? When I hear an Adele, I'm like, wow, that's
I know.
a beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's all the harmony of all the instruments when they come together, and it's been around since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
Really a magical thing, right? And to have it in this environment. It's pretty special. Do you ever walk around and go, pinch me? I hope this
know.
never ends.
Yeah, I love walking in here. I find the energy from shows just sort of lingers. And even walking into my cheesecake freezer, it just makes me happy walking into this space.
Well, I'm really, really looking forward to the Sky Diggers. They're coming up in a couple of weeks. Because that's, to me, also Julian Taylor's been here. Can you have him back, please?
And I know I was
Can you have him
thinking
back,
of
please?
Julian yesterday. I loved our stories of our sons and
Yeah.
being drawn to his music. He's the only, I said to Julian, I said, you brought my son out of his bedroom. That's huge. Because he walked down here during the show, and I thought that was quite a compliment for Julian.
Yeah, and you told me that story when we first met. And I was saying to you that, again, my son, and I probably played way too much music, and it's like I was always, hey, you like that? No, Dad, I don't like that. No, Dad.
Yeah, and then
then Julian Taylor was playing. I think it was the Ballad of the Troubadour,
right?
And he's like, it was like when a dog gets inquisitive, huh? Right? It was like, he goes, I like this. And I never heard him ever say that, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow. And so, yeah, have Julian back if you can.
I know.
Right?
I would love to. He'll come back.
And I'll try to spread the word in my network and see, see if we can get, some more. You know what I mean? Like, now that I know about the place, you'll see me walking by on concert nights on a regular basis. So you may want to take a look at
your dog.
Yeah, you may want to take a look at my silhouette, right?
Security.
But I do want to thank you for being an echo in this northern country, and supporting music like you do, and being part of that journey for the musician and for people, because there's a big place for that in the world. And thank you for providing this venue, so people can, have their love of music, right? In its purest form. Yeah. So good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you, and thank you for coming on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
And we'll try and get the word out. So, how do people get in touch with you?
Well,
if you want them to get in touch with you,
social media is always the best. There's Studio 79 @Blue is the Instagram. And then there's Studio 79 on Facebook. My email as well, annapotvin@gmail.com. There's a new studio one. Anna@Studio 79 Music. That's probably easier.
Awesome.
Anna@Studio 79
That's got a nice ring to it.
.ca.
That's actually got a nice ring to it. So that's how I found you, was, just tracking down where I could, have a place up here in the area, and I'm like, oh, the Sky Diggers are playing up there. I'm gonna go see if I can check it out. And there's like, where have I been?
Yeah, I know your email.
Anna, where have I been?
Like, ticket sold.
So, kudos to you for being a music lover, supporting music.
Yeah, it feels good to support.
Thanks for being on the podcast, and continue to do what you do and just be you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.